First contact. The Starship Endeavour drifted silently through the void, its sensors probing the darkness for any sign of the anomaly that had brought them to this remote corner of space. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen as it displayed an endless sea of stars. "Anything yet, Dr. Patel?" she asked, glancing at the ship's chief scientist. Dr. Raju Patel shook his head, his fingers dancing across his console. "Nothing concrete, Captain. But the quantum fluctuations are growing stronger. Whatever's out there, we're getting close." Ilara nodded, a mix of excitement and apprehension churning in her stomach. The Endeavour was humanity's most advanced deep space vessel, sent to investigate a series of bizarre energy readings that defied explanation. Some speculated it could be evidence of faster-than-light travel. Others whispered about wormholes or even signs of alien intelligence. After centuries of searching the cosmos, humanity had yet to encounter another sentient species. But Ilara had a feeling that was about to change. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Captain," Lieutenant Sarah Wong called out from tactical. "Massive energy spike detected. Something's coming through." The view screen flared with blinding light, forcing the crew to shield their eyes. When it faded, Ilara's jaw dropped. A colossal object had appeared before them, a construct of gleaming metal and pulsing energy, easily dwarfing the Endeavour. "My God," Dr. Patel whispered. It's a ship." Before anyone could react further, a beam of light lanced out from the alien vessel, enveloping the Endeavour. Ilara felt a strange tingling sensation, and then everything went dark. She awoke what felt like moments later, finding herself in a vast chamber unlike anything she'd ever seen. The walls seemed to shift and flow, defying human architecture. And standing before her was a being that could only be described as alien. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with iridescent skin and multiple limbs that moved with unsettling grace. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in Ilara's mind. "Greetings, humans. We are the Vorax. Your species has been judged and found wanting. Prepare yourselves for assimilation or annihilation." Ilara's blood ran cold. This was first contact, but not the joyous meeting of civilizations humanity had dreamed of. This was the beginning of the nightmare. We mean you no harm," she managed to say, her voice shaking. "We come in peace." The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to glitter with amusement. "Peace is irrelevant. You will serve the Vorax Imperium or be destroyed. Your planet's resources will fuel our expansion. Resistance is futile." With a gesture from the alien, Ilara found herself back on the Endeavour's bridge. The alien ship was gone, but a sense of dread remained. "Report," she barked, shaking off her disorientation. "All systems operational, Captain," Lieutenant Wong responded. "But we're not where we were before. These star patterns are all wrong." Dr. Patel's face had gone pale as he studied his readings. "Captain, if these coordinates are correct, we're less than a light year from Earth. They've brought us home." Ilara's mind raced. The Vorax had the power to translocate entire starships across vast distances, and they were headed for an unsuspecting Earth. "Send an emergency transmission to Earth Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha. First contact scenario, hostile intent. We need to warn them." As the message was sent, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Humanity had dreamed of the stars for millennia, imagining grand adventures and the discovery of new civilizations, but they had never truly prepared for this, an advanced, aggressive species with technology beyond their comprehension. The Endeavour raced towards Earth, pushing its engines to the limit. They had to get home, had to prepare defenses, had to find some way to stop the Vorax. But as they approached the edge of the solar system, long-range sensors detected a chilling sight. A vast fleet of Vorax ships, numbering in the hundreds, was already entering orbit around Earth. "No," Ilara whispered, her heart sinking. "We're too late." But even as despair threatened to overwhelm her, She felt a spark of determination ignite within her chest. Humanity might be outgunned and unprepared, but they weren't beaten yet. If the Vorax thought Earth would be an easy conquest, they were in for a rude awakening. "Battle stations," she commanded, her voice steady and resolute. "We're going in." As the Endeavor plunged towards its besieged homeworld, Ilara silently vowed that humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Vorax had made a grave mistake in underestimating the inhabitants of Earth. They were about to learn why it was the deadliest planet in the universe. The invasion had begun, but so too had humanity's fight for survival. And Ilara knew that her species possessed a strength the Vorax couldn't begin to comprehend. The indomitable will to endure, to adapt, and to overcome any obstacle in their path. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The invasion begins. The skies over Earth burned with the fury of 1,000 suns as the Vorax fleet descended upon the planet. Massive ships, each larger than the largest human city, took up positions around the globe. Humanity's defenses, impressive as they were, seemed pitiful in comparison to the alien armada. General Marcus Blackwood stood in the United Earth Defense Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays showing the unfolding catastrophe. "Status report," he barked, his voice cutting through the chaos of the command center. "Sir, Vorax ships are deploying some kind of energy field over major cities," a young lieutenant reported, her voice trembling. "Our weapons can't penetrate it." Ground forces report. "Sir, they're reporting that people are just disappearing." Blackwood's jaw clenched. The Vorax weren't here to conquer. They were here to harvest. Humanity was being rounded up like cattle. "What about the Endeavor?" he asked, clinging to a shred of hope. "Still en route, sir. ETA 10 minutes. It wasn't much, but it was something. Captain Chen and her crew were the only ones who'd had direct contact with the Vorax. If anyone could find a weakness, it was them. Across the globe, scenes of terror and desperation played out. In New York, the Statue of Liberty crumbled under alien fire. In Beijing, millions huddled in underground shelters as Vorax harvesters swept the streets. And in the skies above, Earth's combined air forces fought a desperate, losing battle against the invaders' superior technology. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity refused to give up. In a lab beneath London, Dr. Emily Sedo worked feverishly to decode the alien transmissions. "There's a pattern here," she muttered, her eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "If we can just crack their communication protocols, maybe we can." Her words were cut off as the lab shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling as the sound of alien weapons fire grew closer. "Dr. Sato," a soldier shouted, bursting into the lab. "We need to evacuate now." Emily clutched her data pad, unwilling to leave her work behind. "Just a few more minutes," she pleaded. "I'm close to a breakthrough." The soldier grabbed her arm, pulling her towards the exit. "There are no more minutes, Doctor. We have to." His words were cut short as a beam of sickly green energy punched through the wall, vaporizing him instantly. Emily screamed, stumbling backwards as a Vorax soldier stepped through the smoldering hole. Its alien eyes fixed on her, filled with cold intelligence. Emily clutched her data pad to her chest, her mind racing. In that moment, she made a decision that would alter the course of the war. With trembling fingers, she activated the lab's self-destruct sequence. "You want Earth's secrets," she snarled at the advancing alien. "Come and get them." The explosion rocked the underground complex, collapsing tunnels and destroying years of research. But it also took out a squad of Vorax soldiers and bought precious time for other scientists to escape with their data. Meanwhile, high above the Earth, the Endeavor blazed through the chaos of battle. Captain Chen gritted her teeth as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Shields at 30%, Lieutenant Wong reported. "We can't take much more of this." "We don't need to," Ilara replied, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Look." A massive Vorax command ship loomed before them, its energy weapons charging for a killing blow. But Ilara had seen something the aliens hadn't, a weak point in their seemingly impenetrable defenses. "All power to forward shields," she ordered, "and prepare to fire the main cannon directly at that energy conduit." Dr. Patel's eyes widened as he realized her plan. "Captain, if we hit that while it's charging, the feedback could destroy half their fleet," Ilara finished. "I know. It's a risk we have to take." The Endeavor surged forward, taking hit after hit as it closed the distance. Vorax ships swarmed around them, realizing too late what the humans were planning. "Fire!" Ilara shouted. A lance of concentrated energy erupted from the Endeavor, striking the Vorax command ship at precisely the right moment. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash that outshone the sun, the alien vessel detonated. The shockwave rippled through space, catching dozens of Vorax ships in its wake. Ilara watched in awe as nearly a third of the alien fleet was obliterated in a single stroke. On Earth, the sudden destruction of so many Vorax ships had an immediate effect. The energy fields trapping Earth's population flickered and failed. Millions who had been on the verge of capture found themselves free, if only for a moment. In the skies over London, RAF pilot James O'Connor seized the opportunity. His squadron had been all but wiped out, but now he sought a chance to strike back. "All remaining pilots, form up on me," he called over the radio. "We're going to hit them while they're reeling." A ragtag group of fighters fell into formation behind him. British, American, Chinese, Russian. In that moment, old rivalries were forgotten. There was only humanity against the stars. James led his impromptu squadron on a daring attack run, targeting Vorax dropships that were suddenly vulnerable without their command ship's coordination. One by one, the alien craft fell from the sky, crashing into the Thames or exploding in midair. As the battle raged on, General Blackwood received a transmission from the Endeavor. Captain Chen's face appeared on the screen, battered but unbowed. "General," she said, her voice filled with determination, "we've found a weakness in their defenses. If we can coordinate a global counterattack, we might just have a chance." Blackwood nodded, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "Well done, Captain. Patch me through to all remaining military commands. It's time to show these bastards what happens when you mess with Earth." As the orders went out, a change came over the defending forces. The shock and terror of the initial invasion gave way to a grim resolve. Humanity had taken its licks, but now it was ready to hit back, and hit hard. In the rubble-strewn streets of Tokyo, a group of civilians armed themselves with whatever they could find. Baseball bats, kitchen knives, even a samurai sword pulled from a museum display. Led by a grizzled ex-soldier named Hiroshi Tanaka, they prepared to ambush a Vorax patrol. "Remember," Hiroshi told his makeshift militia, "they may have better weapons, but we know these streets. We fight for our homes, our families. We will not let them take our world without a fight." As the aliens rounded the corner, they were met with a fury they hadn't expected. Hiroshi's sword flashed in the sunlight as it cleaved through alien armor. His compatriots swarmed the patrol, overwhelming them with sheer numbers and desperate courage. Similar scenes played out across the globe. Humanity, pushed to the brink, found reserves of strength and ingenuity they never knew they possessed. Farm equipment was turned into makeshift weapons. Hackers launched cyberattacks on Vorax systems. Even children played their part, using their small size to slip past alien patrols and gather intelligence. In orbit, the Endeavor led a daring assault on the remaining Vorax capital ships. Earth's remaining space forces rallied around them, executing complex maneuvers that caught the aliens off guard. "They're not used to this kind of resistance," Dr. Patel observed, studying sensor readings of the Vorax fleet. "Their tactics are becoming erratic." Ilara nodded, a fierce pride swelling in her chest. "They thought we'd be easy prey. They're learning just how wrong they were." As the battle reached its crescendo, It became clear that while humanity might not be able to achieve total victory, they had denied the Vorax their easy conquest. The alien fleet, bloodied and taken aback by the ferocity of Earth's defense, began to pull back. In the United Earth Defense Command Center, a cheer went up as the Vorax ships retreated from orbit, but General Blackwood's expression remained grim. "This isn't over," he warned his staff. "They'll be back, and in greater numbers. We've won the battle, but the war has only just begun." As the dust settled on humanity's first major engagement with an alien threat, one thing became abundantly clear. Earth might be a small blue planet in a vast, uncaring universe, but its inhabitants were far from helpless. The Vorax had awakened a sleeping giant, and in doing so, had set the stage for a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. The invasion had been repelled, but at great cost. Now, humanity would have to prepare for the next phase of the war, taking the fight to the stars themselves. Turning the tide. The months following the initial Vorax invasion were a time of frantic activity for Earth. The planet buzzed like a kicked hornet's nest, every nation and individual working towards a common goal: survival. In the depths of the Marianas Trench, Dr. Emily Sato stood before a holographic display, presenting her findings to a panel of the world's top scientists and military leaders. "The data we recovered from the Vorax wreckage is, well, it's revolutionary," she explained, her eyes shining with excitement despite the dark circles beneath them. "Their faster-than-light drive operates on principles we've only theorized about. With this, we can not only match their speed but potentially surpass it." General Blackwood leaned forward, his weathered face etched with concern. "How long until we can implement this technology, Doctor?" Emily took a deep breath. "Under normal circumstances, years. But given our situation, 6 months, maybe less." A murmur ran through the assembled leaders. 6 months was a blink of an eye in technological terms, but an eternity when facing an alien threat that could return at any moment. "You'll have whatever resources you need," Blackwood declared. "Every scientist, every engineer. Hell, I'll put the whole damn planet to work if that's what it takes." As the meeting adjourned, Captain Ilara Chen approached Emily. "Impressive work, Doctor," she said with a nod of respect. "But I can't help feeling we're missing something." The Vorax. They seemed so confident, like they'd done this 100 times before. Emily's brow furrowed. "You think Earth isn't their first target?" "I think we need to know more about our enemy," Ilara replied. "And to do that, we need to go to them." The plan was audacious, some would say insane. Using salvaged Vorax technology and the innovations born of humanity's desperate ingenuity, a small fleet of stealth ships would penetrate deep into enemy territory. Their mission: gather intelligence, disrupt Vorax operations, and if possible, find allies among other species that might have fallen victim to the alien empire. The Endeavor, refitted and upgraded, would lead the expedition. Its crew, once explorers, were now the vanguard of humanity's counterattack. As the ships prepared to depart, a crowd gathered at the Luna shipyards. Families said tearful goodbyes, knowing their loved ones might never return. But there was pride too, and determination. These were Earth's finest, venturing into the unknown to safeguard their home. Ilara stood on the Endeavor's bridge, watching the blue marble of Earth recede in the viewscreen. "Plot a course for the Vorax home system," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "It's time we took the fight to them." The journey took weeks, even with the new FTL drive. As they traveled, the fleet encountered evidence of the Vorax's brutal expansion. Dead worlds stripped of resources, the remnants of civilizations snuffed out like candles. But they also found something unexpected: survivors. On a small moon orbiting a gas giant, they discovered a refugee camp of various alien species, all victims of Vorax aggression. A willowy being with luminescent skin approached the human landing party, its telepathic voice tinged with a mix of fear and hope. You You fought the Vorax and survived. Ilara nodded, extending a hand in a gesture of peace. We did, and we're looking for others who want to fight back. Word spread quickly through the refugee camp. Soon, the Endeavor's crew found themselves inundated with volunteers, beings of all shapes and sizes, each bearing the scars of Vorax oppression and a burning desire for revenge. Among them was Zix, a molten-skinned creature whose species possessed natural cloaking abilities. My world fell to the Vorax centuries ago, Zix explained, its voice a sibilant whisper. We've been waiting for a chance to strike back. Perhaps your people are the key. As the fleet continued its journey, now bolstered by alien allies, they began a campaign of hit-and-run attacks on Vorax outposts. Each strike was carefully planned, targeting supply lines and communication relays. The humans' unconventional tactics, combined with the unique abilities of their new allies, kept the Vorax off balance. But the real breakthrough came when they intercepted a Vorax data transmission. Dr. Patel worked tirelessly to decrypt it, and when he finally succeeded, his face went pale. "Captain," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "you need to see this." The decoded message revealed the true nature of the Vorax. They weren't just conquerors, they were parasites. Each invasion, each harvest of a populated world, fueled a grotesque metamorphosis. The Vorax were building towards something, a transformation that would make them unstoppable. "We need to take this information back to Earth," Ilara declared. "But first, we're going to hit them where it hurts." The plan was daring to the point of insanity. Using intelligence gathered from their alien allies and their own reconnaissance, the human fleet would strike at the heart of Vorax power, their central hive world. As the Endeavor led the assault, Ilara couldn't help but marvel at the sight before her. Ships of a dozen different designs, crewed by beings from across the galaxy, all united against a common foe. Humanity had come seeking allies, and instead they had forged the beginnings of an interstellar rebellion. The battle was fierce and costly. Vorax defenses were formidable, and for every ship they destroyed, it seemed two more took its place. But the attackers had surprise on their side, and a desperation born of fighting for not just their lives, but their very existence. In the chaos of the fight, a small team led by Ilara herself managed to infiltrate the Vorax central command structure. There, in the alien equivalent of a throne room, they confronted the Vorax Overseer, a massive, pulsating being that seemed more organic computer than creature. "You think you can stop us?" The Overseer's thoughts boomed in their minds. "We are inevitable. We are eternal. Your species, like all others, will feed our ascension." Ilara raised her weapon, a grim smile on her face. "You made one big mistake," she replied. "You should have left Earth alone." The explosion that followed could be seen from orbit, a blossoming flower of destruction that engulfed the Vorax command center and sent shockwaves through their entire empire. As the human fleet regrouped and began the long journey home, Ilara knew that this was far from over. They had struck a mighty blow, but the Vorax were vast and ancient. It would take more than one battle to end this war. But for the first time since the invasion began, there was real hope. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. They had made allies, uncovered secrets, and shown that even the mightiest empire could bleed. As the Endeavor entered Earth's solar system, a transmission came through from General Blackwood. "Welcome home, Captain," he said, a rare smile on his face. "You'll be glad to know we've been busy while you were away. Wait until you see what we've cooked up." Ilara looked out at the shipyard surrounding Mars, her eyes widening at the sight of a vast armada under construction. Sleek warships bristling with weapons, carriers large enough to transport entire armies across the stars. Earth was no longer just defending itself, it was preparing to take the fight to the enemy on a scale the galaxy had never seen. The tide of war was turning, and at its crest rode humanity, the unexpected champions of a universe in peril. Galactic revelations, The war room beneath Geneva hummed with activity as holographic displays flickered with real-time battle data from across the galaxy. General Blackwood stood at the center, his face a mask of concentration as he coordinated Earth's far-flung forces. "Status report on Operation Starfall," he barked. A young lieutenant stepped forward. "Sir, the Arcturus offensive is proceeding as planned. Our allies in the Pleiades cluster have successfully disrupted Vorax supply lines in 3 sectors." Blackwood nodded, a grim satisfaction in his eyes. In the 2 years since the Endeavor's daring strike against the Vorax homeworld, the war had evolved into a complex, multi-front conflict spanning dozens of star systems. Earth, once the underdog, now stood as the linchpin of a growing coalition of species united against Vorax tyranny. But even as humanity chalked up victory after victory, a sense of unease gnawed at the general. Something about this war didn't add up. His musings were interrupted as Captain Chen's face appeared on the main view screen. The years of combat had left their mark. A new scar ran along her jawline, and her eyes held a hardness that comes only from prolonged conflict. "General," she said, her voice tight, "we've made a discovery. Something that changes everything we thought we knew about this war." Blackwood leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Go on, Captain." "We've captured a high-ranking Vorax commander," Ilara explained. "And what it's told us, sir, the Vorax aren't the real enemy. They're pawns in a much larger game." The room fell silent as Ilara laid out the incredible truth. The Vorax, for all their apparent might, were themselves victims of a cosmic cycle older than recorded history. Every few millennia, an ancient machine intelligence awakened from the depths of intergalactic space. This entity, which the Vorax knew only as the Harvester, used lesser species as tools to gather the resources it needed for its inscrutable purposes. The Vorax's brutal expansion, their harvesting of worlds, it's all in service to this Harvester, Ilara concluded. And according to our prisoner, the cycle is nearing its end. The Harvester is awakening. Blackwood's mind raced with the implications. If this is true, then everything we've done, all our victories, may have just accelerated the process. Ilara finished grimly. As the news spread through Earth's leadership and to their alien allies, a palpable sense of dread settled over the coalition. They had thought they were fighting for survival against a conquering empire. Now they faced an enemy so vast and ancient it defied comprehension. But humanity had not come this far to give up now. In a secret facility on Mars, Dr. Emily Sedo pored over the data gleaned from the Vorax commander. Her team worked tirelessly, combining insights from a dozen alien cultures with humanity's own relentless innovation. The Harvester operates on a scale we can barely imagine, she explained to a gathering of Earth's top minds. But it's not infallible. Every cycle, it needs to create a nexus point, a place where it can gather and process the energy it needs to fully awaken. A holographic representation of the Milky Way appeared, with a pulsing red dot near the galactic core. "We believe this is the location," Emily continued. "If we can disrupt the nexus point before the Harvester fully activates, we might be able to break the cycle." The plan that emerged was audacious to the point of insanity. A massive fleet, comprised of ships from every allied species, would launch an all-out assault on the nexus point. Meanwhile, a small strike team would infiltrate the Harvester itself, armed with a weapon that was equal parts science and desperation. A device designed to overload the ancient machine's systems and force it back into dormancy. As preparations for the final battle intensified, Ilara found herself in a quiet moment with Zix, the alien ally who had been with them since the early days of the war. "Your people continue to surprise me," Zix said, its luminescent skin pulsing with emotion. "In all the cycles my species has endured, we never dared to dream of challenging the Harvester itself." Ilara smiled wryly. "That's the thing about humans, Zix. We're too stubborn to know when we're outmatched." As the Allied Armada assembled, a somber mood settled over the fleet. Everyone knew the stakes. Victory meant breaking the cycle of destruction that had plagued the galaxy for eons. Failure meant the end of everything. The journey to the galactic core was tense, punctuated by skirmishes with Vorax forces that grew increasingly desperate as they realized their master's plans were in jeopardy. But nothing could have prepared them for the sight that greeted them as they dropped out of FTL at the Nexus Point. The Harvester defied description, a vast, otherworldly construct that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Surrounding it was the largest concentration of Vorax ships anyone had ever seen, a living shield protecting their ancient master. All ships, battle stations, Ilara's voice rang out across the Allied fleet. Remember why we're here. Not just for our own worlds, but for every species that has fallen victim to this cycle. Today, we break the chain. The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia to come. Ships from 100 worlds fought with desperate valor against the Vorax armada. Weapons fire lit up the void, turning the darkness of space into a kaleidoscope of destruction. Through it all, a small, stealth ship carrying Ilara, Dr. Sato, and a hand-picked team of specialists made its way towards the Harvester. Using technology reverse-engineered from Vorax systems, they'd breached the ancient machine's outer defenses. Inside, they found an environment that defied logic, corridors that seemed to fold in on themselves, rooms that existed in multiple time streams simultaneously. But they pressed on, guided by Emily's calculations and Ilara's unwavering determination. Finally, they'd reached the core, a pulsing, multidimensional nexus of energy that hurt the eyes to look upon directly. As Emily worked to plant the disruptor device, Ilara and her team held off waves of Vorax defenders, fighting with the desperation of those who know the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. "It's done," Emily shouted over the din of battle. "We need to get out of here before it detonates." As they raced back to their ship, the Harvester began to convulse. Energy coursed through its structure, and a psychic scream echoed through the minds of every being for light years around. The Allied fleet, battered but unbroken, watched in awe as the Harvester began to collapse in on itself. The Vorax ships, suddenly cut off from their master's control, fell into disarray. As the dust settled and the realization of victory began to sink in, Ilara stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, looking out at the aftermath of the most important battle in galactic history. "We did it," she breathed, scarcely able to believe it herself. But even as the Allied fleet erupted in celebration, Ilara knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The cycle was broken, but the galaxy was forever changed. Humanity, once an isolated species on a small blue planet, now stood at the forefront of a new era of interstellar cooperation. The real work, building a lasting peace, helping former Vorax thralls find their way in a post-Harvester galaxy, exploring the wonders and dangers of a universe now wide open, was just beginning. As the Endeavor set a course for Earth, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew one thing for certain: humanity was ready to face them. A new era. The Grand Assembly Hall of the newly constructed Galactic Concordat headquarters on Luna buzzed with activity. Representatives from hundreds of species, many of whom had been bitter enemies just a few years ago, now gathered in an atmosphere of cautious optimism. At the center of it all stood Ilara Chen, no longer just a starship captain, but Earth's primary representative to this fledgling interstellar alliance. The years since the defeat of the Harvester had aged her, silver streaks now prominent in her dark hair, but her eyes still burned with the same determination that had seen humanity through its darkest hours. "Order, please," she called out, her voice cutting through the babble of alien languages. As the assembly quieted, Ilara took a deep breath. "Esteemed colleagues, friends, allies, 5 years ago, we stood together against a threat that had plagued this galaxy for eons. Today, we come together not in war, but in peace, to shape the future we fought so hard to secure." The discussions that followed were complex and often heated. The fall of the Harvester and the subsequent collapse of the Vorax Empire had left a power vacuum that threatened to plunge the galaxy into chaos. Former slave species sought retribution against their one-time Vorax masters. Territorial disputes flared up between newly liberated worlds. And through it all, the specter of the Harvester loomed large. The fear that somehow, someday, it might return. But as Ilara watched the proceedings, she felt a swell of pride. For every argument, there was a compromise. For every grievance, an offer of reconciliation. The species of the galaxy, having faced extinction together, were learning to coexist. During a recess, Ilara found herself approached by Zix, the alien ally who had been with humanity since the early days of the war. The being's luminescent skin pulsed with what Ilara had learned to recognize as amusement. "Your people continue to surprise me, Ilara Chen," Zix said, its telepathic voice tinged with warmth. "When we first met, I thought humans were reckless, perhaps even foolhardy. Now I see that your species' greatest strength is not your technology or your tactics, but your capacity for hope." Ilara smiled, touched by the alien's words. "We've all come a long way, Zix, but we have so much further to go." Indeed, even as the Galactic Concordat took shape, new challenges emerged. Dr. Emily Sato, now heading a multi-species research initiative, had made a startling discovery. The Harvester may not have been unique, she explained to a rapt audience of scientists and leaders. "Our deep space probes have detected energy signatures similar to the Harvesters in other galaxies. Whatever created it may have seeded these machines throughout the universe." The news sent shockwaves through the galactic community. But instead of panic, it sparked a renewed sense of purpose. The Concordat launched ambitious programs for exploration, research, and defense. Ships that had once been weapons of war were refitted for long-range exploration. The combined scientific knowledge of 100 species was brought to bear on unlocking the secrets of the cosmos. Humanity, with its unique blend of adaptability, creativity, and sheer stubbornness, often found itself at the forefront of these efforts. Earth became a hub of interstellar culture and commerce, its cities transformed by alien architecture and technology. The sight of a dozen different species walking the streets of New York or Tokyo became commonplace. But perhaps the most profound changes were the subtler ones. Children born in this new era grew up learning not just Earth history, but galactic history. Art and music from 100 worlds blended into new forms of expression. And slowly, the idea of a united galaxy began to seem less like a dream and more like an achievable reality. 10 years to the day after the defeat of the Harvester, Ilara stood on the observation deck of Sentinel Station, Earth's newest and largest orbital facility. Below her, the blue marble of humanity's homeworld spun serenely. Above, the stars beckoned. General Blackwood, now retired but still a respected voice in Earth's leadership, joined her at the window. "Quite a view," he said, his gruff voice softened by age and the perspective that came with it. Ilara nodded. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come. From fighting for our very survival to this." She gestured at the stars. "We're out there now, Marcus, exploring, building, making a difference." Blackwood chuckled. "And to think, it all started because some alien bastards thought Earth would be an easy conquest. That they're kicking themselves now, wherever they are." As if on cue, a sleek ship of obvious alien design glided past the station. Its hull bore the markings of the Galactic Concordat, but Ilara recognized it as being of Vorax origin. In the years since the war, many Vorax had rejected their empire's brutal past, seeking to make amends by joining the very alliance they had once sought to destroy. "We've all had to learn and grow," Ilara mused. "Humans, Vorax, every species out there. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? We're not just surviving anymore. We're thriving together." As the ship disappeared into the darkness of space, Ilara felt a familiar surge of excitement. The universe was vast, full of wonders and dangers yet unknown. But humanity, once alone on its small blue planet, now stood as part of something greater. They had proven themselves not just as warriors, but as pioneers, diplomats, and visionaries. The deadliest planet in the universe had become a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved when different species came together in the face of adversity. And as Ilara looked out at the star-studded expanse before her, she knew that humanity's greatest adventures were still to come. The Earth might have been forged in fire, tempered by conflict, but its true destiny lay in the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers, peacekeepers, and friends to all who sought a better future among the cosmic tapestry. As night fell over Earth, lights from cities across the globe twinkled like earthbound stars. And in the skies above, the ships of 100 worlds moved in harmony, a testament to the enduring spirit of cooperation that had been born in humanity's darkest hour. The galaxy would face new challenges, of that Ilara was certain. But whatever the future held, Earth and its people were ready. They had faced the deadliest threats the universe could throw at them, and emerged stronger for it. Now they stood poised to help shape a future brighter than any single species could have imagined alone. As Ilara turned to leave the observation deck, she cast one last glance at the starfield beyond. A smile played across her lips as she whispered, "Ad astra per aspera," to the stars through difficulties. It had been humanity's rallying cry during the darkest days of the war. Now it was a promise, a commitment to the grand adventure that lay ahead. The deadliest planet in the universe had found its true calling, not in conflict, but in the endless possibilities of a galaxy united. And that, Ilara knew, was the greatest victory of all.